What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 21:19 Eastern Time in the United States, and I'm actually recording this from Poland. So we have some major breaking news coming in from the UK and from here in the US. It does appear that Western powers will allow Ukraine to use their weapons to strike deep inside of Russia. We also had two U.S. nuclear bombers airborne right over Poland last night, and we had a lot of reconnaissance activity in Poland at the same time as those nuclear bombers were airborne, high priority reconnaissance. So something is about to go down in the Baltics and possibly in Poland. So let me just update you guys with some of the latest breaking news. We also had several doomsday planes up in the air today. Our nuclear forces are still on very high alert. Lots of nuclear war command and control planes, sub-hunters, etc. So Britain has finally allowed Ukraine to hit Russia with Storm Shadow missiles. This was reported by the UK Guardian today. The Guardian stated that British government sources have told their reporters that the decision to permit Ukraine to conduct strikes against military targets deep inside Russia with long-range Western weapons systems has been taken. Okay, so Britain formally allowing Ukraine to use their Storm Shadow missiles deep inside of Russia. Guys, this is extremely serious, okay? We know that France and the US are not far behind, and this is going to really escalate the situation over there. Putin is going to be embarrassed because Ukraine is going to be striking their bases deep behind the front lines, deep inside of Russia. I think they're going to try to take out the Russian bombers, all those bombers that Russia uses to strike Ukraine. I think they're going to try to take those out. They're probably going to try to take out radars and various types of electronic warfare sites that assist the Russian bombers in striking Ukraine. They could also hit some fuel depots, ammunition depots, parts warehouses, all kinds of things, okay? But we are talking about Putin's red line, okay? They've said that this is their red line. Russia has said, if you strike us deep inside of our territory, we are going to retaliate, okay? If Ukraine strikes Russia with NATO weapons deep inside of Russian territory, then they're going to retaliate. They've said that a long time. So this could get very, very serious very quickly. We know that Putin doesn't like to be embarrassed, and Ukraine has been embarrassing Putin recently. They've invaded Russia. Okay, Ukraine literally invaded Russia, and they're still holding on to a sizable part of the Kursk Oblast. And now they're talking about using NATO weapons to strike deep inside of Russia. So I think this is going to happen in the coming weeks. I don't think it's going to take months. I think we could see this probably end of this month or October at the latest. And before I continue with the breaking news, I just wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a 25% discount on their mega 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. But this is basically like their normal 3-month emergency food supply with some extra stuff. Is freeze-dried, so it lasts 25 years. It's packaged in rugged, watertight buckets that don't take up a lot of space, so it's just a no-brainer. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply mega 3-month emergency food supply. I think we're going to see Ukraine strike dozens of targets inside of Russia with Storm Shadow missiles from the UK, with ATACMS from the US, possibly even the JSAM missiles. Okay, the US already approved the transfer of JSAM missiles to Ukraine. Okay, that is one of our best cruise missiles in the US Air Force. Okay, I think just Poland, Finland, South Korea, and Australia have them. They have a range of several hundred miles. They're stealthy, and Ukraine can use those JSAMs to hit bases deep inside of Russia, hundreds of miles into Russia. Okay, so US missiles, British missiles, and French missiles are all going to be used against Russia in the coming weeks in a massive shock and awe style attack, in my opinion. I think when Ukraine does this, I think they're just going to do a massive strike. They're going to hit maybe 100 or more targets all at once with all these different types of missiles, and that's what they've been trained for. That's why they've been training them on the F-16s. Okay, they've been training them on the F-16s, so this way they can use Western missiles against Russia. So this is going to be like a Ukrainian shock and awe on Russia, and Putin is going to snap, I think. He's crazy, he's psychotic, and with somebody who's as mentally unstable as him, who happens to also have nuclear weapons, this is basically the trigger event, okay, that's going to trigger Putin to just finally try to nuke Ukraine. And we could potentially see mushroom clouds over Ukraine as soon as this fall or sometime over the winter. Okay, so please, guys, get prepared. This is a very serious situation. And the U.S. and British Foreign Secretaries Anthony Blinken and David Lammy arrived in Kyiv earlier today, where they were expected to approve Ukraine's use of long-range weapons according to various sources. And Bloomberg is reporting that the U.S. wanted Ukraine to submit detailed plans of what targets they plan to strike inside of Russia with these long-range weapons. So they already did that like 2 weeks ago. The Ukrainian Defense Minister, Umerov, went to D.C. and submitted a formal list of targets that they've come up with. Okay, Biden said yesterday that they're working on approving this target list. So it's coming, guys. It's not if, it's when. And I think it's going to happen in the coming weeks. Okay, they're not going to wait months to do this. It's going to happen soon. Ukraine already has the missiles. They already have the pilots that are trained. They have the F-16s. They have everything they need to conduct this massive deep strike on Russia. And it could even be a decapitating strike. Okay, maybe they're going to attack Putin's compounds and they're going to try to take out the Russian leadership. Who knows, guys? This could be a massive sneak attack to try to overthrow the government and take out the leadership of Russia. It's very possible. Okay, it's very, very possible. And the US, the UK, and Ukraine are finalizing plans to expand where Ukraine can strike inside of Russia, according to Politico. Officials in Washington, London, and Kyiv have in recent days discussed expanding the area inside Russia that Ukraine can hit with American and British-made weapons. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a screenshot from the Bloomberg news article that says here, U.S. wants Ukraine to detail plan before allowing Russia strikes. Okay, so this could happen any day now, guys. And Switzerland is preparing for something big. Military units are being tasked with practicing complete lockdown of all border areas and are being ordered to prepare for widespread civil unrest in neighboring countries, requiring Swiss borders to be sealed. You could notice it early on, but now it has shifted gears, said one source who lives in a town about 20 miles from several military bases. In the US or even in Germany, you might not be able to personally witness that all military branches are on high alert or preparedness with intensified exercises all at once. In tiny Switzerland, you must be blind or ignorant not to recognize the uptick in military traffic, low-altitude fighter jet flybys, numerous helicopter sightings, he continued. Reports from elsewhere in Switzerland confirm the military transport units were tasked with building up new stockpiles of various essentials in secret locations. Local infantry units started to exercise complete border lockdowns from their neighbors, France, Germany, and Italy. The secrecy and mystery surrounding these preparations are certainly intriguing, said another source. According to an intelligence source, all Swiss military units were given vague scenarios to prepare for, and there was no explanation of how such a situation might occur or what could trigger it. The middle and lower ranks were merely tasked with the following potential crisis in mind: that war and large-scale civil unrest would unfold in Europe, which would make it necessary for Switzerland to close off all entries and even shoot at civilians trying to get in. Okay, so Switzerland preparing for basically World War III. Okay, and what you're looking at here is all of the high priority reconnaissance over Poland and the Baltic Sea last night, but also 2 B-52 nuclear bombers were airborne over northern Poland and also southern Sweden. Guys, I cannot stress to you how serious and how unusual this is, okay? To have 2 B-52s looping over Poland in and of itself is very unusual. But in addition to that, we had several high priority reconnaissance planes that were airborne at the same time, okay? We had a sub-hunter here off the coast of Russia in Kaliningrad. We had Forte 13, an RQ-4 Global Hawk reconnaissance drone patrolling the Polish-Russian border. We also had Jake 17, a U.S. high-priority reconnaissance plane, also patrolling the Polish-Russian border. So something's brewing here, guys. And remember, just a couple days ago, Russia sent a drone 50 miles into Latvia. 50 miles, not 1 mile, not 2 miles, not 5 miles, not 10 miles. 50 miles this thing flew into Latvia, and that happened just 2 weeks after a Russian drone flew 30 miles into Poland. Okay, so there's a pattern developing here, and Lithuania has mined their border with Russia along the Niemen River, which forms a border between Kaliningrad and Lithuania. Okay, they've mined the border and put anti-tank obstacles. Guys, something is about to break out over here, and I'm sorry that I'm in Poland if I'm causing you guys any worry. Sorry about that, but I wanted to see my family before all hell breaks loose, and maybe I won't be able to get here once that happens, okay? So I will continue to update you guys on my status. Please don't worry about me, but actually just pray for me and pray for Poland and pray for peace, okay? We also had more reconnaissance in Europe here near Iceland last night again. Here you can see several AWACS planes that were flying near the Faroe Islands and Iceland, doing loops just north of Iceland. This is a very common submarine route for the Russians. They have their Northern Fleet base in Murmansk in the Kola Peninsula. So what they do is they go around the Scandinavian peninsula and they come here through this little area between Iceland. Well, it's actually not little, but you know what I mean. Through this area between Iceland and Scandinavia and the UK. Okay, they go through here with their subs when they deploy out to the Atlantic. So clearly our forces are keeping an eye on this area with E3 sentries, okay, NATO sentries here. Very concerning. And actually, after one of the B-52s completed its patrol in northern Poland and southern Sweden, it flew all the way back to Minot, North Dakota. Okay, so this was clearly a bomber exercise. They were practicing responding to a contingency. This is exactly what they did during the height of the Cold War. They had what was known as Operation Chrome Dome, which is kind of a funny name, but it's true. Okay, during Operation Chrome Dome, basically 24/7, we would have B-52s that would literally fly right up to the border of the Soviet Union. Okay, they would go up across Greenland and fly all the way to the USSR in Scandinavia, or they would go into the Mediterranean and fly all the way up to Yugoslavia. Okay, they would fly all the way up to the Berlin Wall. All right, so they're doing the same thing now. Okay, but arguably the situation now is worse than it ever was during the Cold War, because there's not a lot of treaties left between Russia and the US as far as nuclear arms control goes, and also for the buildup of conventional forces. Okay, Russia scrapped the Conventional Forces Europe Treaty, okay, allowing them to build up as many troops as they want on the border of Poland and the Baltics. And the US scrapped the INF Treaty, which allows Russia to and NATO to deploy medium-range missiles in Europe. That was under Trump. And then Putin scrapped the START Treaty. Okay, so guys, we're heading towards nuclear war. Okay, this is a very serious situation. And here we have more reconnaissance over Europe. You can see another reconnaissance plane north of Iceland here. You can see a British Eurofighter Typhoon fighter jet patrolling the North Sea. You can see a sub-hunter here in southern Sweden off the coast of the Baltic Sea. And then here you can see another recon drone in northeast Poland. Okay, so get prepared, guys. Now, in addition to that, we had 2 doomsday planes airborne over the U.S. today, 2 presidential doomsday planes, several nuclear war command and control planes as well. Here you can see one doomsday plane that just took off like 2 hours ago from Omaha, Nebraska, home of Stratcom. And then here you can see a nuclear war command and control plane off the coast of California, and then another one that did a big loop here near all of our missile fields. And this is training for the airborne launch control system. Okay, so these planes can remotely launch all of our Minuteman III ICBMs from the air if something were to happen and our missileers in the silos, in the launch control centers, could not physically launch the missiles, or they refused to for whatever reason. These planes could override their controls and basically launch from the air. So you can see it flew in loops here in western Nebraska. This is where we have the 91st Missile Wing in F.E. Warren. And then up here near Great Falls, we have another missile wing. And then in Minot, another missile wing in North Dakota. Okay, so this is clearly preparations for a worst case scenario. And then here was another doomsday plane that was airborne earlier this afternoon. It flew from Offutt Air Base and then it went back to D.C. And these doomsday planes are for the president. Okay, the president goes on these planes, and the president and the defense minister, they can command the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal, the entire U.S. military from the air. And it's actually safer for the president to be on one of these planes during a nuclear war than it is for the president to be in a bunker, because the bunkers are well known. Our enemies know where our bunkers are located, and they can just target them with earth-penetrating nuclear warheads. But if we have a very secure plane up in the air that's resistant to radiation and EMP and different things, the president can basically stay up in the air and he'll be totally safe, because we have thousands of miles of ocean around us. Here we have more nuclear war command and control planes, and also a nuke sniffer plane that was airborne. We had a sub-hunter again off the coast of Washington and Oregon. Today we had another sub-hunter in the Gulf of Mexico, and then another sub-hunter off the coast of North Carolina. So the U.S. is definitely on the hunt for Russian subs, okay? Another sign that things are escalating is seeing an increase in the number of sub-hunters everywhere patrolling our shores, because if Russia were to launch a surprise attack on us, a surprise first strike, or even a retaliation strike, they're going to get their subs in position and have them close to our shoreline in the Pacific, in the Atlantic, and also in the Gulf. So this way they can hit all of our most critical targets as quickly as possible before we have a chance to respond. Okay, if they get these subs, let's say within a couple hundred miles of our east coast, they can just hit us in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, not enough time for pilots of bombers to get up in the air with their bombers. They would hit our bombers and destroy them. And here we have a picture of a Chinese invasion drill. So China practiced an invasion of Taiwan. They just finished a 2-day amphibious exercise featuring a brigade-sized joint landing force, which took place 350 kilometers west of Taiwan. PLA aircraft, warships, helicopters, drones, armored vehicles, and civilian ferries loaded with ground forces participated, okay? So this could all kick off at once, okay? Russia could nuke Ukraine and attack NATO at the same time as China invades Taiwan, at the same time as North Korea launches hundreds of missiles into South Korea, at the same time as Iran launches hundreds of missiles into Israel. And that's 4 fronts, okay? 4 fronts that we would have to deal with, okay? So it's possible they're going to coordinate all of this at the same time. And the president of Turkey issued an interesting statement earlier today about Ukraine. He said, quote, "Turkey's support for Ukraine's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence is unwavering. The return of Crimea to Ukraine is a requirement of international law." Wow. So Erdogan siding with Ukraine and NATO 100%, saying that Russia must return Crimea, and that's based on international law. So that is huge news for NATO, good news for NATO, bad news for Russia. And the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, says the UK will terminate all of its relations with Iran due to its supplying of missiles to Russia. And Ukrainian forces shot down a Russian Sukhoi 30 SM fighter jet off the coast of Ukraine in the Black Sea. So very, very impressive. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. It does appear that Ukraine is gearing up for a massive surprise attack on Russia. They're going to go for all of these strategic targets. It's not going to be a small attack. They're not going to hit, 1, 2, 3 targets. If they're going to risk retaliation by Russia, they're going to hit Russia hard. Okay, they're going to hit Russia with hundreds of missiles, all kinds of targets in Western Russia, because they know Russia's going to respond possibly with nuclear weapons, and they may only get one chance. So they have to make it count. They're going to take out their air defenses. They're going to take out bomber bases. They're going to take out potentially nuclear warhead storage facilities. They're going to take out radars, electronic warfare sites, infantry bases, parts facilities, everything, okay? Potentially going after the Russian military leadership and Putin's compounds, okay? It's coming, guys. I'm telling you, it's coming. And when that happens, I think all hell is going to break loose. I support Ukraine. I want them to win, but there's no denying that this is going to cause escalation. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back potentially tomorrow with another update. I am still on vacation in Poland. I'll be back in 10 days. So if I'm not back with another update tomorrow, you can always check into my 24/7 live stream, which I have ongoing right now. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.